Hey everybody, so this is another video in the MIT App Inventor UNLV STEM video series. So for this week's lab, we're going to work on basically some simple image sprites, and we're going to emulate this sort of one versus one Pong game. So I guess it's kind of like, yeah, it's a one-player Pong. So basically we're going to have this bar right there, and we're going to try to, and this ball is going to be going in this direction. We're going to try to hit the ball, and it'll hit back and forth, and we're going to try to just see how long of a rally we can actually do. So the way it's going to work is, I guess here with my mouse, I guess you can sort of imagine if I had the actual phone in my hand, I'd be able to click and drag this around to be able to hit this ball. And this button right there is going to activate the game. So the way the game is going to play out is when the ball first hits this paddle, it's going to sort of bounce in some random direction. After every 5 hits, a new level begins, and the ball will speed up, and also it's going to have a random sort of direction it's going to take. So let's go ahead and first play this game, and then I'll narrate it as I'm going through it. Okay, so you first hit level 1, and the ball activates, so it'll go downwards, and it hits in some angle. This is not a very good angle to hit, but it's okay. And I guess it gives a little message right there, nice, like noise, good hit. And of course it tells what level we're currently on, and it says great. So and randomly will give us some message like that. Not a very interesting example. So let's see, the fifth hit will happen. Now the ball will go in a random direction, as you can see, and it also speeds up. And just the standard, I guess, standard kind of Pong game, if you will. Nothing shocking here. Let's see, so I want to see if we go into different angles soon. So, okay, one more, and it's going to start level 3. And it's not really giving me really good random directions like it's supposed to. But you can see it got faster than the previous ones, level 3 still. Every time we make contact, it gives a little message right there, like great. And then it tells us the level number we're on. Now level 4 starts, you can see it got faster, and the ball suddenly changed its direction, as you can see. So let's see how far we can do this for. So you can see how it keeps on giving us a good message every time we hit the ball. Now a new level begins, level 5 starts, and it got faster, and the ball changed direction suddenly too. So that's going to be really the game we're going to develop, and I guess I'll just kind of just have it lose. And it says new high score. It's supposed to be new high score, but I guess the Windows version of App Inventor sort of messed up, or doesn't look as nice as the Apple's version of the emulator for App Inventor. So I can, of course, start the game all over again. Hit this button right there. It's going to gray out, but it will start a new game. And we can see it did randomly pick a different direction. And the score counter will increment by 1 after every single hit. And of course, that message up top, when it hits like a border, it'll show the level number. If we hit the paddle, it's going to say some kind of message that gives the player confidence. So they feel good about themselves. See, noise, that means it's a good play. And now level 2 happens now. Now the ball, something after every 5 hits, the ball will go faster, and it's going to change directions. It'll be a random sort of direction it will take. So let's see this again. Let's see what happens after I do his 10th hit. You can see how it randomly just suddenly changed. So it's changed the direction, and it goes faster. So basically, that's how the game works. I guess I'll just go ahead and I'll lose this. When it hits the very bottom, the game ends. And it was no high score at that time. We didn't pass our previous high score. So basically, you have to maintain a variable for a high score and a variable for a current score. It increments by 1 every time we make contact with this paddle. If a number becomes bigger than 24, then obviously we have a new high score. And the button right there, it will give us some kind of positive message every time we make contact. Then when it hits some other paddle, it's going to just give us the level number we're on, just to give the user an idea what level we're currently on. After every 5 hits, a new level begins. A level always starts with the ball will go at a faster rate, and it also will change directions randomly as well. So we're going to go over, we'll sort of work this app up from the ground up, and just kind of give us an idea of how the ball moves around the canvas, and how we can somewhat, have this sort of movable sprite, this red bar, to be able to make contact with this ball. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to, from scratch, create a new app, and we can kind of follow along here in the video. And then of course, I'll leave the blocks to you at the end to sort of work out this game. You don't have to get it exactly perfect like this, but the whole idea is you can count the score, our high score, and of course be able to have it when the ball hits the paddle, it'll be able to correctly sort of move in that. So let's say when the ball is coming in this direction, it's going to, you know, bounce off normal like that. So we'll go over that. But anyway, let's go ahead and just sort of talk about building this app from the ground up. All right, let's go ahead and begin a new game. So go to projects, start new project. I'll call this one player Pong, just so it sounds a little nicer. Oh, it must have a letter. Okay, so I guess I'll say one player Pong like this. Oops. Pong. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll create our top sort of label and button. Nothing too surprising with that. Let's go ahead and just set that up. So of course, our layout, we're going to choose a horizontal arrangement. I'll go ahead and I'll drop that right there as always. The height, let's think of a percentage that might be appropriate. Let's try 15%. Maybe that's a little too much. Let's try 10%. Okay, better. The width will be fill parent. So that way we can actually have our two labels aligned side by side. And we have our button that will let us play the game, and also it displays a message in the button as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a label, which I will pick this right here, label, and then label just like that. So basically, now what's going to happen is, I'm going to go ahead and put a button right there. So click and drag a button right here onto the canvas. So we have this set up. Of course, you can make this look a little nicer. I'm going to sort of not focus on making this look too nice just for the sake of time. But I will at least go ahead and have the high-speed fill parent just so at least I'll make it somewhat nice. But I'm not going to over engineer this because I do want to have this video go a little faster. I don't have to spend too much time talking about the UI. So we'll just say height to be fill parent. Of course, you could, you know, make the fonts larger. You can set the widths differently, but I'm going to keep it like this. So I'm going to even have it as text for button one. I'll keep that text just like that because really it's not super important what the text actually says, but at least I'll go ahead now. Maybe I'll make this label. I'll call this one, I'll rename this for now. So it'll be LBL score. And this label right here, I'll call this one as LBL high score. So just so we know what they are. And then I guess this button, I'll just call it button one for now. Just no big deal. So now in order to have sort of a, what's it called, a game like we had a second ago, we're going to actually have to add the following into our form. So we're going to go to drawing and animation at this level right there. And we're going to select canvas. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop the canvas right here. I'm going to make so the canvas is going to be the area where you can actually have these kind of games like Pong and whatnot. So we're going to have this entire area here be just one big canvas. So of course we're going to have to make it so the width will be fill parent, and the height also will be fill parent. So it's going to take up the rest of this space. This whole space here is going to be where our Pong game is going to be played. And of course, to add a ball to this canvas, I'm going to click and drag a ball object right there. And I'll put the paddle here in a second. So I actually have to re-download an image because I did this earlier on different machines. I don't have access to that file. So I'm going to download a file and I'll put it here later on. But you'd have to basically, I'll probably give you in lab like an actual image file you can go ahead and upload to your project. So during lab, most likely just like we did for that one lab, I'll give you guys, I'll have a USB drives, and my TAs will help sort of put that file, that image file, that paddle onto your computer, so you can actually upload it and be able to implement this game. So of course, I think the radius is a little too low, so I'm going to, of course, make the radius a little bit larger, just like that. So basically, that is sort of the just a simple aspect of this. So I'm going to just sort of pause the video for now. I'm going to have a cut happen right here. So I'm going to set up a few parts to this just to kind of help this video move a little smoother. Okay, so I added a red sort of image over here, but of course, during lab, I will definitely give you guys just an image you can just use to upload. So you'd have to have an image saved on your computer, hit upload file, and then sort of find that file in your directory. But of course, during lab, my TAs will help you. But at the house, you'd have to basically just download some image of a red image, like what I did over here. And I kind of cropped the image, I suppose. I made it so it's kind of long, so it's kind of like a rectangle type of shape. I would crop the image, and I would have it saved somewhere on my computer. And of course, I would just go to upload file, find that file in my folder, hit OK to upload it to my project. So that's all you have to really do. So nothing too bad there. But I'm not going to really use this this just yet. But I'm going to just sort of focus on this right here. So I'm going to now go to my blocks and do some editing to this program. So the first thing I'll do is, well, I guess I can create my variables now. So I'm going to just have a variable for, I guess I'm going to have one for score. And I guess I'll just, I guess I'll add like maybe 0 to it. I'm going to, of course, reassign them later on, but I'll just create my variables for right now. And this will be my high score. Put that right there. And of course, I'm going to go to my screen 1 on load. Or let me see, screen 1 actually initialize, my mistake, same concept though. So I'm going to, of course, initialize the screen. I'm going to set the score to 0. I already set it here, but I'll just kind of be more, I don't know, it's kind of like the proper way of doing this to like just initialize it, although we initialize it here anyway. But yeah, sure. Let's put that here. Now I want to go ahead and set the ball in my canvas somewhere. So obviously I can go to my designer and sort of put it where I want to, but it's actually better practice to have your code automatically put it in some default spot when the phone runs. And of course, remember, different devices have different dimensions, so you want to make it a bit more relative than using actual pixels, like putting it in actual X and Y coordinates. You want to maybe be more generic about this. So I'm going to go to my blocks. I'm going to set the ball. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the object here, and let's go ahead and look at the set ball. Let's see, set ball X. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And I'm going to set ball X and set ball Y. And I'm going to put it to the middle of the screen. So for the X position, X goes sort of left to right direction. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the canvas width, which is somewhere here. So there it is, canvas width. I'm going to take a math and I'm going to put it to the middle somewhere. So I'm going to grab my division operator, there it is. I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 2. Math environment, set this to 2. It's going to basically it's going to assign it to the middle position. So right in the middle somewhere. And the height, the Y field, the Y position, I'm going to actually, again, I'm going to grab the canvas's height field right there. I'm going to divide this by actually by 5. So the basically height index 0 is the very top, and then the max height will be the height of this canvas. So I'm going to divide this by maybe by 5. So I want to put it up a little higher. So I want to be in the middle, but I want to have it closer to the top of my canvas. So I'm going to get a math block once again. I will go ahead and I will divide this, where there it is, divide this by, let's say, by 5. Oops. Divide this by 5. So I got my math block over here. Just like that. So far what we're going to do is going to have the ball position. Of course, we're going to set the ball's speed to be 0. We don't want it to actually move. So I'm going to set the ball speed, which here is set ball 1 speed 2. I'm going to grab a math block and then have it set to 0. So the ball will not be moving. Okay, let's go ahead and test these blocks out. And I guess, well, it loaded, right? Maybe go ahead and actually refresh it so maybe we can kind of see it actually what happens. But it should put the ball in the middle and towards the top area. And let's see what happened here. Okay. Let me go ahead and try to refresh this and see what happens. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually stop the recording. I'm going to just kind of skip ahead and get this loaded properly. Okay, so there's our emulator running our game. I also put in these 2 labels extra from the last, from before I cut to it, is skipped ahead like this. So it shows a score and a high score also at the very beginning, just like that. Okay, so we have it where it's going to have the ball in the middle somewhere and more towards the top. So this is kind of how we set that. So no matter how big our screen is, it always will put it in the middle and towards the top. I divide it by 2 to the width. So that way it's going to be in the middle of the width. And the height divided by 5, here's my whole height divided by 5. We'll put it way up here somewhere. So that's kind of, that way it's more relative, no matter how big or small the screen is on your phone or device. So now let's go ahead and add the functionality to the button to maybe have his ball kind of move, I guess, is what we'll do. Okay, let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to go to button 1 on click. So currently the ball speed is going to be 0. So I'm going to actually adjust that right now and set the ball speed to some speed. So I'm going to set it to, let's say, I will select 5 for the speed. And once you set the speed, you have to also set the direction of the ball. So you're going to use a heading field for this. And I'll go over a picture of the heading in a second. Let's go ahead and find, where is that set heading to. I'm going to choose, for math, I'm going to choose the following. I'll show you in a second what that really means actually. I'm going to choose the heading to be 270. Just like that. The ball, when the button 1's clicked, the speed will be adjusted to 5 and the heading will be 270. I'll go over what the heading means in a second. Let's see if this actually loads correctly. I'm going to click on a button. And you can see the ball is moving. And then of course it doesn't really do too much, but you know, yeah, it did that. So what does the heading actually mean? Well, let's go ahead and go to the board here for a second so I can show you. This is what we can think of as a heading basically. So when the ball heading, when it was set, so I set the, let me put this over here for a second. I had ball 1 dot heading. So I set it to 270 above. Actually, this is 270, sorry, 270. Then the ball is going to be traveling in this direction, basically. If I would set the heading to 90, then the ball would be moving up that direction. And if I set, of course, ball to, let's say, heading to 45, then between 0 and 90 to 45 would be this. This is actually using angles, so hopefully you were exposed to this in your math classes in school, but basically just a number for what direction the ball is going to take. So this is how we can look at this. So if I set it equal to 1, let's suppose, then it would be, you know, kind of going like it's 1 tick above 0. So that's how we can think about this. So I set a ball heading to 270, that means it went down in that direction. Let's go ahead and mess around just a little bit more. So I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to first set the heading. Let's set it to 90 this time. Let's try 90 instead. I'm going to click on this button again. And right now, the speed will still be 5, but now the heading will be 90. So it's going to have the ball move upwards. And there it goes. So it's doing it. So, Okay, so far we're able to just get this ball to move at least. So that's so far so good. So now we're going to actually maybe have it where the button, when it's clicked, it will have an automatic heading, and maybe you can have it sort of bounce around the canvas. So let's go ahead and do that portion next. Okay, so what I'll do right now is just set some random number for the heading, just so we can see how we can adjust that, because in our Pong game we're going to have it where it'll have some random heading at certain times when it makes some type of a collision. Let's go ahead and just for right now just sort of focus on that. So I'm going to remove this block for right now. I'm going to go to my math environment, and I'm going to select a random integer from 1 to, I'm going to click this one. I'm going to set this between, I guess, 1 and 3. I think it's supposed to be between, I think it's 0 and 359. Because I think 360 is considered 0, I believe. At least according to what I've seen before. This would be 0, and then it goes all the way around to 359 is the right before, and then it goes back to 0 apparently. So let's go ahead and have it like this. Let's see what happens now. So I'm going to refresh this connection, refresh the screen, and see, hopefully the emulator is not going to crash. Let's click on the button, and then we can see that it's going to randomly move a certain direction. Let's go ahead and refresh this screen so we can kind of just see, because that was actually not the best random number. Let's try this again. So you can see this time it's moving in that direction. So it randomly assigned some random heading and it went at that speed. Let's go ahead and hit this button again. You can see that if I hit the button, it picks a different direction. This is really kind of not giving me my favorable results here, but so you can see here, you can see how it does change. So when I click the button, it picks a different heading, and different heading means the ball is going to move in a different direction. And based on the heading number, it's going to tell us what direction the ball is going to be moving. So whatever number we picked randomly, if I would have chosen 175 for a heading, then it means it's going to travel in this direction. So it's like, think of it like, you know, traveling at, let's see, over here, this is like 9 o'clock. This is 6 o'clock. So it's kind of like that. We're sort of giving it a direction basically. And these numbers are basically just a way to assign direction to the ball. Okay, so that part is not so bad, but I mean, I guess I kind of wanted to sort of bounce between when it hits like the surface or hits the edge. I wanted to bounce back and forth just so it kind of performs that type of action, you know, that bouncing off the wall kind of action. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and make the speed a little faster. I think 5 is a little too slow, so it's kind of boring, so I'll try 10 instead. And I'm going to now do the following. So I'm going to say when ball1.edge reach. So it's going to reach some edge. Now we're not going to really be specific about the edge for now, but we'll just sort of go ahead and reach some edge. Then I'm going to, for ball 1, let's see, which one is it? Let's see. So it's hard to find the exact. I think I want to do like the bounce operation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose bounce. I'm going to remove this direction for right now. I'm going to hover over this, of course, I'm going to hover over this edge piece. So if I look at the mouse, hover over here, and you see this popping up. I'm going to grab this, and whatever edge it basically hit, doesn't really matter. It's going to perform that bouncing action. It's going to bounce off of that edge basically. So I'm going to go ahead and just sort of skip ahead and reload the emulator so we can go ahead and test this out. Okay, so now the emulator is back and loaded. Let's go ahead and click on this button. It's going to set the heading randomly, and the speed will be 10. Let's check this out. And there we go. See, when it hits an edge, it's going to call that bounce function, which is going to bounce off of the wall, apparently. That's all it's going to do. So nothing really too fancy right there. Let me go ahead and click on the button again to try to change the orientation of the ball. So you can see it moves upward now. And it's going to perform that bounce operation. It will bounce off of the canvas wall. So we can see it's definitely working as expected. So really, we kind of are basically almost there. So one thing I want to do is in our Pong game, when it hits that bottom wall, we want it to stop bouncing because that means the player lost. So whenever it hits off anything else, like off the side or the top or any of the corners except for the bottom parts, you want it to basically, we want this to basically stop bouncing when it hits the bottom. Let's go ahead and write the code first. I'm going to, of course, just reset this, refresh it, so it's going to stop doing this because it's there. Now it's done. So we have to add some type of logic to this. So you want to basically tell that if the ball hit that bottom edge, then I want to basically stop stop this bouncing action and have the ball just stop bouncing. I guess that's the right word to use. Okay, so to set the bar, we're going to go back to our drawing animation section and click on image sprite. We're going to drag and drop image sprite object into our canvas, just like that, so we can see it right there. And I want to go ahead and add an image to this. So we have our image reloaded to our program already. I'm going to use that image right there. I'm going to select picture, red 31. And there it is, but it's relatively large. So you want to go ahead and update the height and width. Let's go ahead and select a pixel amount. So for the height, let's try 20 pixels. It still seems rather large. Let's try 5 pixels. I don't know why my temp inventor does this. If I try a big amount, it just disappears like that. I'm not sure what's the deal with this. If I set it to automatic, does it? Now it's suddenly not showing the image anymore. It's really, really weird. Okay, let's just see how this works. Let's see what happens. Let's try for the width. I'm gonna try maybe like 20. Okay, now it's back. Okay, this is, I don't know why. This is kind of an issue, but let's try the width to be something smaller. Oh, there it is right there. So that's a big jump actually. Hold on, let's try 20. Okay, so we can see it right there, but it's not really. So you need to have a pretty big amount, but I don't know why it's very inconsistent like that. You have to kind of wrestle with this a little bit until it finally comes out okay. See, now it's making sense, but before it was just like, I put it to like 10, it was jumbo, and I put it to a smaller amount, it became micro, so it's really bizarre, but I think we can see it's sort of coming together right now a bit. So, okay, I think, maybe I want to make it a little smaller because I think it's a little it would be too easy of a game if it was like that. So now with 200 pixels, it got larger. I don't understand why it's doing this. Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. That's a good enough width. Now for the height, let's just hope and just nothing too crazy happens right here. Let's try 50. Oops. I mean for the height. Okay. 50. It's a little too less. Let's try 100 for the height. Maybe I should make it automatic. Yeah, this is really kind of making me a little bit upset because it's sort of this is kind of making me a little bit. There's definitely a wrestling match I have to like do to get this to work. Now it's suddenly big like that. I don't know what is it. What's the issue with this? Not interval. Height to be 50 pixels. Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just sort of take the victory for now. At least it kind of came out. So obviously you'd have to wrestle with this quite a bit. Me doing the lab, but I don't want to have to struggle too much through all this. So okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and just take this and be happy with this for right now. So again, I want to put this into a default spot on my board. So I'm going to put the my initialize block. I'm going to go to image sprite. One which is going to be where that bar is. I'm going to select the what's it called, the X position to be in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of copy this. I didn't copy the whole thing, of course. Let me try to duplicate all of this. Okay, perfect. And the Y for it, the Y will be actually a little different. So I'm going to select the duplicate this block, Duplicate that block as well. And I'll remove this portion out. Set the Y. I'm going to actually make it a little different. So maybe not going to use the division. I'm going to have it maybe be somewhere towards the bottom. So I'm going to take the height and use the math. Again, I'm going to do a subtraction this time. I'm going to try to go maybe 50 from the bottom. Let's see how that looks. Let's hope. So I guess our emulator crashed. So I'm going to, of course, just going to skip ahead in the video so we can get to the emulators loaded. So let's go ahead and just skip ahead for right now. Well, we can see here this didn't really come out correctly. So I'm going to actually try to use blocks to set this up. So I went to the image sprite and I selected these two. I'm going to select the width over here actually. Where is it, width? I'm going to try to use actual blocks to set the height. Maybe this will actually cause it to not mess up. So let's try this out. So I'm going to actually set the width to maybe be around 100 pixels, and the height I'll make it 20, I suppose. Let's go ahead and just try this out. Maybe this will give us more luck than trying to use the view sort of based methods. Let's try this out and see what this gives us. Let's refresh the screen. Yeah, this might give us more luck. So okay, there we go. So that was actually really amazing. So the first time it just worked automatically. How about that? So probably better idea is to use the blocks to set the heights. That way it seems like it's just going to work. Using other ways, using the actual editor or the view, the designer area, somehow it just does not, it was not really very flexible. So this is probably a better idea like this. Okay, awesome. So now we want to be able to click and drag this. So this is similar. Let's say if you're using on your phone, using your thumb, you would click on you click on this image sprite and be able to sort of slide it left and right. So we want to go ahead and add the functionality, because right now we can't really, if I click on this, it's not able to actually drag this. So it's a very simple approach to do this. I'm going to go to my blocks and select image sprite 1, and when dragged, there we go. Let's grab this one. And then when we drag it, we only want it to move in this horizontal kind of way. We don't want it to be able to move up and down any way you want. So you want to go from left to right. So we have to adjust the X component. So I'm going to go to image sprite 1 and then set X. There it is. There it is right there. I'm going to set it with current X. So we have our start, our previous, and current. So current is where we actually currently, when we click and we drag it, it's the current spot that we dragged it to. So we want to set the current X. And that's really all there is to that. So I go back to my emulator. If I try to move up and down, it's only going to adjust the X position. So I have to click and drag, click on the actual image sprite, and I can drag it back and forth. Awesome. So we have that so far set up. So our last sort of part is we're going to want it to actually have it where if this ball hits this plate, it will basically bounce off of it. So the first thing I'll do is when I do the click on a button, I want the ball to drop straight down. So I'm going to basically remove this and set the heading to go straight down. So remember, from our board, it would be 270 would be the heading value that will make the ball move straight down. So select the math block and then plug in 270. So now we're going to have to do the following. So when ball 1 dot collided with, I'm going to grab that block over here. This block will happen when the ball hits another image sprite. So over here, our only image sprite we have in this entire application is just this, this red bar right there. So the ball hits this, we want it to do something. So what we're going to do is we're going to have it just randomly sort of shoot the ball up towards this upper part. So I'm going to have it randomly, let's look at the following picture. So maybe I'm going to use a red marker for this. Maybe I'll try randomly in this direction, and then let's try another shape. So I want it randomly between those two. So I'll say this is going to be 45, and this is going to be 135. So I want to pick a number randomly between 45 and 135 when it hits that board or that plate or the paddle. There we go. It's a Pong game, so paddle makes sense. I want it, if it hits, I want to randomly assign some type of angle in this range. So going back to my blocks, I'm going to select ball 1 dot heading. So set the heading. Let's see. Where is it? So there it is. I think I saw it. There, set heading. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and go to math and do a random number generator. It's right there. So pick a number randomly between, let me see, I believe I chose 45 and I chose 135. I'm going to assign that. And there we go. So when it collides with this image, with this bar, it's going to randomly select this. Let's go ahead and just check this out and see what it does. And it looks like it bounced off of it. And if it hits off this paddle, it's going to randomly shoot it somewhere else. Now for our Pong game, we want to be more careful. We don't want to use random all the time. Only on every fifth time it touched. See right there, that was not really the correct sort of orientation, but at least it does work. So that's the important part. It is working. So we can see it works. Okay. So what we wanted to do, so let's go back to our, I'm going to let this hit the bottom part right there. So that part's okay. So now basically these are going to be all the blocks we're going to be really using. Now you can of course add functions, you can create procedures, so that you don't have to rewrite code. You want to sort of emulate that Pong game. Now you can do however you want, so it's not, I mean, I went over the version at the very beginning of the video, which kind of, you can see how it works, but I'm not going to really be so strict about that, obviously, for the lab. So what you want to do is the following. So when the ball is coming at this sort of paddle, let's say, so I'm going to erase this part for right now. Let's say the ball makes contact with this paddle in this direction, like this. It's coming at the paddle like this. Let's say the heading, it's coming at this, it's coming at our paddle, this ball. So here's our ball right there. It's coming at the paddle at that sort of direction. And let's suppose it's going to be, I'll choose 240. It's coming at us at 240. So I want it to actually bounce. Let me see, I'm going to use a blue marker. I want it to actually bounce like this. So I have to compute this amount, which I have to look back at my notes for a second. But what I would end up doing is, well, I have to do some calculation to sort of, I guess, let me see, I have to possibly, so I think what we can probably think better about this is actually like this. So it's coming at it like this. So let me just make it better visualization, so my mistake on that. So assuming that the ball hit the paddle at that direction, it happens to be around 245 is the angle. Well, then I want to go ahead and I want to compute, let me just get my calculator out here for a quick second so I don't mess this up. So I want to actually, if I did my math correct, I want to get 65. So what's going to happen is we have to check what angle it's coming at. And I want to be able to, so I think 65, or actually not 65, well, it was supposed to be, let me just look at my math. My math was the wrong way there, so let's try this one more time. So 115. my mistake, 115, so we want to actually compute. So when the ball is coming at the paddle at this angle at 245 for the heading, I want to compute 115. So when it hits this, it will then update the ball's heading to be 115, so it's going to bounce. So when the ball is coming in like this, and it makes contact with the paddle at this angle, 245, it's going to bounce. It's going to convert the ball's heading to 115, which will make it move in that direction, is what I'm trying to do. Now also we have the case, but what if, let's say the paddle, what if the ball comes at this angle actually? So let's say it's coming in like this. I'm going to change the colors in a second. Let's say it's coming at us like this. Let's say it's 290. So the ball is coming in at us at 290, and I want to compute a new heading. So it's going to simulate that sort of deflection. It'll deflect exactly symmetrically. There we go. It'll deflect symmetrically. So in that case, we have to compute this sort of angle. So I'm going to just select that. And well, in order to do this correctly, we're going to have to do a little bit of math. So I'm going to get my calculator out here so I don't make a mistake with this. So we're going to have to compute 70 in this case. So it comes out at 290 and makes contact. We want to adjust the heading and reassign it to be 70. We have to calculate it using that 290 and do some calculations. But really, we really have these two different quadrants, basically. So I'm going to use a space pen here to draw this out. We have this quadrant right here, and we have this quadrant over here. So we have to have an if statement that checks. So if this number is between 180 and 270, we have to do a certain calculation to compute 115. And then if the angle is at between 270, so between 0 and 270, we have to use a different equation, a different formula potentially to compute this. That way it's going to simulate that sort of that it will bounce off in a symmetrical kind of way. So that part you'll have to kind of on your own work on that, but this is, I kind of gave you an idea, so hopefully you can use this and figure this out. But of course, if you can't, you can just sort of use the method I just did right here, is if you can't figure this out, have it just be some random number. And of course, every time it makes a collision, you want to add 1 to your score. And when the ball hits the bottom, they want to check and see if this score is bigger than our current high score. If it is, then we want to update high score to be our score and set the score back to 0. And also our button click, we also want to make it so when you click on the button, it's going to move the ball up to this initial position. Because right now when I click, it's going to move the ball in a direction, but I want to maybe have it where I click, also have the ball move up there. So I could actually just do a right click on this to duplicate this. That way it's going to set the ball right there every single time. This is sort of the blocks you're going to have to use. You're going to, of course, add a procedure if you don't want to copy and paste too much. But this is sort of the idea. So this is not the way to use random numbers like this, but this is what I'll do for now to make it simple on us. But of course, try to think about this approach. Try to see if you can get the right way where the ball would simulate that nice symmetric sort of bounce off of the paddle. So let's go ahead and just simulate this game again. So I'm going to hit tech to hit this button, and it's going to reset the button, hit the ball to the very top, so we can restart the game. So obviously, time it makes contact with the paddle, you want to increase our score and update the score, update it on our form. And you can see it's not really how it's supposed to be played, but I guess simple enough. But of course, you want to maybe have it calculate the heading correctly, because right now this is not really necessarily the most accurate way of how this game is supposed to be played. But anyway, you can see that's what we're going to have to do. So you have to add those features in. And of course, you can go back to the early parts of the video, so you can rewatch the game being played, so you can kind of see how it works. So that's basically the end of this tutorial. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully this was at least kind of a bit more fun than our last few labs. So I guess thanks for watching, and take care, and I guess until next time.